Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use.
Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media. We hope these busy days are finding you cheerful, not frustrated, and at all times remaining mindful. Today we are pleased to have with us Eric Willoughby, who is a servant leader, diversity advocate, and a master facilitator for a Fortune 500 company. He is known for his outstanding reliability and commitment to the development of people. Using his keen insight as a conduit, Eric allows his pupils to embrace change, corporate core values, and become compliance champions. Eric empowers leaders and future leaders with the tools and strategies needed for them to provide reliable leadership to their teams. Welcome, Eric.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. So
now, I just want to ask you, are you also an author?
I am going to be an author.
And how would that be?
I have written a chapter in a book, and it will be published and available on January 21st of 2021. It is called Finally Free.
All right.
Excellent.
Yes, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, how did you get on this road? Where did this begin for you?
It depends on which road you're referring to.
Good one. Okay.
If it's the leadership road and doing the facilitating and really being that leader, that was instilled in me in a very young age through my mother. And I wanted to graduate high school, go to college, and follow in her footsteps and become a strong leader in general. I have gone the retail route and have grown myself within the business to where now I am in charge of facilitating and training leaders who will develop leaders who will then develop leaders.
Right.
Interesting concept.
That's very interesting and very needed because many of the leaders, some of the leaders, I ain't going to say many, but some of the leaders that I see, I'm like, okay, where did you get your training? Because a lot of times people don't really understand what leadership means. So for our audience, just so we have clarity, what is leadership?
Mm-hmm.
So you can have a manager or a boss, and they will have direction given to them, and they will tell you what you need to do. Here's your list, get it done, walk away. Maybe I'll come back later and check on you. Maybe I won't. Could be. Now, a leader will spend that time with you to make sure if I'm going to give you a task or I'm going to give you something to do, I'm going to make sure that I'm available at every step, that I go step by step to show you how to do that, and that I'm going to follow up with you frequently and give you constant feedback on if you're doing well, I will recognize that. And if you're not doing so well, I will jump in and help guide you in the correct way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, this is something that's interesting that this is your, what you do and what you evidently love doing because you have gone deep into this. And as Ida said, many people don't know what leadership is. I have come from, interestingly, also I came through retail. And at that time, there was leadership. If there was something massive going on, if there was a massive sale, the managers didn't stay upstairs in their office. They came down on the floor. If they had to go down to receiving and help you tag things to get up it up to the floor, they were there to do that with you. If they had to go out in the warehouse with you and work with you to get your stock in order, they would do that. And therefore, you learned how to lead by example so that you actually were able to lead other people. So that's why I really appreciate what you're doing, because right now we are lacking in leadership at so many levels, and our youth show it unilaterally throughout the United States.
Absolutely.
They do not understand what leadership is, and they don't know how to respond to leadership, which is really even more disturbing, in that when someone really shows up like yourself, they are almost at that point of rejecting you because they have no concept of how to fall in line with leadership. Leadership is so critical. So please continue talking about what it is that you do, because our audience is dying to hear this. And you know where it's being shown up, where leadership is showing up so a lot, or lack of it? Homeschooling. Because these kids have no idea. All of a sudden, they're not in the classroom with someone who's letting them do whatever they want. They're at home and they have to follow their parents' leadership. So please just continue. I'm thrilled to have you.
Thank you. You know, I do a lot of teaching and training in a school kind of type environment, which right now is kind of hard because we have to do everything over Zoom and we have to do everything distant. And don't get me wrong, the training is great. The content is great. The goals are great. But that lack of personal connection, that is not great. Mm-hmm. And, you know, 2020 has definitely been an interesting year, and you find new ways of doing things that you've always done. But part of being a great leader is being adaptive to change and being able to let those people understand why we're changing. Not just that there is a change, but why we're doing the change and how is it going to affect me and how is it going to affect you and how is it going to affect us in the long run. And going to the digital platform is just one thing that we're doing, but company implemented programs, those are change. We're seeing things that we've never seen before to keep up with the demand of the customers. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people are doing delivery. They're doing online pickup, curbside pickup. I know a lot of the restaurants have gone to a curbside pickup or a contactless delivery. Well, if your company is not looking at these options for their customers, they're going to end up like Kmart, Toys R Us. If they're not willing to make that adjustment, make that change for their customer base, then they're not going to make it in life.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about a new paradigm when it comes to doing business at every level. That's really interesting. And I'm glad to hear you talk about it in those terms. Not that, oh, well, when we get back to normal, because we don't know whether normal is ever going to come back to a certain extent because people had to make such radical changes. And if they're working for them, or they want to go back to the former paradigm. What do you think?
Well, you know, that's kind of like, to me, normal is adapting to change. Okay. You get older every day. Yes. You have to adapt to getting older every day.
Yeah.
Now, when you were in high school, if you were a football player or a cheerleader, do you like to relive those times? Yes. Mm-hmm. Can you physically go back to those times? Absolutely not. So you have to keep thinking forward. Yes, you can think about the past, but even if it's a small, minute change, you can never go back and change that. or you can never go back to that. You are always moving forward. So no matter what normal is, even if this whole paradigm had not taken place and the whole thing with the pandemic had not taken place, things would have eventually changed in another way, and we would have had to adapt to that. So there is no new normal. It's just plain normal. You have to adapt to what is going on to you, around you, and you have to be there, and you have to show up, and you have to understand it so you can get others to understand it so that they can be on board with you.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%, because I was just listening to you and thinking about when I first started business, nothing is the same. Nothing. It has evolved. There's other strategies involved. Because of what happened around me, I had to change and adapt. So we are always in a change and adapt mode. Always.
And that's not the new normal for you. That is the normal for you.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So no matter how you want to think about it, it's just normal. Were there extra challenges in 2020? Absolutely.
Yes.
Were some things escalated and brought on a lot quicker than what you would have hoped or thought of? Absolutely. But you didn't do anything different. You just adapted to it. And if you didn't adapt to it, that's where you're struggling.
Right.
Yes. And that's the big part of 2020 is those who have refused to adapt. And now they're looking at the end of this year. I mean, it's here. Okay, 2020 is gone. And they're wondering, so they're just kind of like, now they're kind of stuck. It's like they're kind of in shock. It's like, I've wasted this whole period of time not adapting, not changing the way that I think about things and actually living in the present. Because you can't do anything about yesterday, can't do anything about tomorrow. That's all you have is today. So along those lines, can you take us into specific ways in which to get that done, to make that shift? You're teaching core values. You're teaching different things within your company to help people live in the present. Can you share some of that with us? Because I know that we need to hear it.
Well, the first and what I feel is the most important thing is you have to have respect for any individual. Mm-hmm. Not any person is the same as another person. So if you're open-minded and adaptable to be available in every single person's way of needing, then you can be inclusive. So respect for your individual, adaptive, you want to be diversified and inclusive. You don't want to have anything held out. And you want to make sure that if there are ideas coming from the group, that as a leader, I am actively listening to what they have to say. I'm not thinking about a response. I'm actually sitting for a moment and taking it in. I can summarize what they have to say so that they understand I'm on the same page, that I understand what they're getting to me. But you also have to think about, as a leader, you want to make decisions. But sometimes your ideas are old and they cannot be adapted to. But when you get that open-minded thought in your head and you actually listen to what others have to say, there may be an easier, better way of doing things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I will definitely say be inclusive, respect for your individual. You always want to do what's best for your company or do what's best for you personally if you're not representing your company's brand.
Mm-hmm.
But those are pretty much my core values that I go off of.
Okay.
Okay, and that sounds great to me. I mean, you have to respect other people, number one, because first of all, we don't know everything. And I heard somebody say a long time ago, and it just stuck with me. When you look in the mirror, you can only see one side at a time. That's it. So being open to criticism, being open to new ideas is what's going to propel any company. And it's also going to support your employees to really want to go beyond the call of duty because of the way that you respect them and their ideas.
Definitely. And, you also have to look at your employees, look at your peers as people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You have to get to know them personally. Hey, it's the weekend. We're not here. What do you got going on? And then Monday, follow up with them. Hey, how was that concert? How was that new restaurant you were taking your family to? To really show that you have a genuine, authentic interest in them as a person, and their buy-in will go through the roof.
Personal interest.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before we go any further, if people want your services, how do they get in contact with you?
Well, right now, you can get in touch with me through email at ewilloughby1@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook at Eric D. Willoughby.
Okay. So my next question for you is, with all of the unrest going on, and a lot of companies are doing, different programs in the company to be able to do more inclusion. Have you been a part of that change as well with your company?
Definitely. The company that I work for has taken many initiatives and have hit many milestones when it comes to the diversity and inclusion. I can't remember the exacts, but I know that in the last 5 years, they've increased women's supervisor roles and women training graduates by like 60 something percent.
Mm-hmm.
So they've done that. They have taken on different avenues with different support groups for all of the different needs in the local communities.
Okay.
They have, I want to say in 2018, they extended the maternity paternity leaves and give, I think it's 12 weeks now. I could be wrong, but I believe it's 12 weeks to a new parent, whether they are giving birth or they are adopting. And that goes for the mother and the father for parent bonding time with the child, as well as a whole new list of benefits that they offer when it comes to adoption.
Awesome.
Okay. That's
That's
good.
impressive.
That's really good.
Hopefully there's some companies out there who will listen to this podcast and they'll think, maybe we ought to get on the stick and get on the move. Because those are innovative. Those are very innovative movements.
Absolutely.
In a company. So for so long, parents have had to struggle trying to be parent and employee those first few months of raising a child, that newborn child, and do it with no sleep. Pretty much no sleep,
Yeah.
trying to be a good employee. It just doesn't work out. So I love that. I love that portion particularly. That is very lovely. Ugh, I know we've got so many questions for you because you have an interesting kind of work. I mean, it's like it's it affects people, in corporations and everything, but this is a personal thing too. People can take a lot from this and take it into their own lives about how they feel about leadership, how they feel about how they treat themselves and how they treat others. And it really comes down to that. How you will you treat other people the way you would want to be treated? And if you don't want to be treated well, then it's time for you to get some help, because most of us want to be treated well.
True.
That's just a natural human, it's a necessity. So I just have a curious question. This is a curiosity question. You
All
said
right.
your mother's son, and you said that you took your cue from her. What was that about? What was that like as a child? And I guess I'm kind of asking you, who is your mother? That, what was about her that made you say, this is the one I'm going to follow? You took her.
Growing up, we didn't have everything given to us. She was a teenage mother.
Okay.
And so she was a baby having a baby. And a lot of the family didn't like that. Some of the family thought, great, another mouth to feed. So she fought tooth and nail to make sure that I had everything that I needed. Did I have everything that I wanted? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But I definitely had everything that I needed. And I was taught the morals and the respect for an individual and to work hard for what I want. So I do appreciate everything that my mother did for me growing up. I appreciate everything that she does for me now. And I show her every chance that I get, and I let her know how much I appreciate her for everything that we've been through. At certain points, she was working 2-3 jobs at a time to make sure that she provided for everything that I need. And, now I'm a parent. So I have 2 wonderful boys. I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. And I would like for me to be able to show them the same things that my mother showed me.
Yes.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Because, one of the things that bothers me is things don't get passed down anymore. And to hear you say that what your mother taught you, you want to pass on to your children, is definitely honorable. So definitely thank you for that, because a lot of that does not happen anymore.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's a situation where it wasn't pretty, and some of the things are generational curses, and you want to get rid of them.
Oh yeah.
So
definitely there's things out there that you say, you know what, this is what I grew up with, and I don't want my children to experience this. Which there's things in my life that have been that way that I don't want my children to experience, but there are things that I do want my children to experience. So there is good and bad, just like 2020. There's bad. There's plenty of bad. There's plenty of obstacles that have happened. But if it wasn't for those most challenging obstacles, I wouldn't have bettered myself. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have been able to adapt and overcome, and I wouldn't have been able to become an author.
Yeah.
And now this has brought so many opportunities this time. And speaking of author, what is the name of your chapter?
The name of my chapter is Life with a Special Needs Child, A Man's Perspective.
Wow.
Okay. You have to give us a little bit.
That's a
little bit. You have to give away the store, but just a little bit.
All right, I'll give you a little bit, just enough to get you keep biting. My oldest child, my 9-year-old, is special needs. And he has a syndrome that is called Dravet Syndrome. He is 1 in 20,000. It is a genetic syndrome. My wife nor I were carriers, so it was a kind of a fluke kind of thing that it just happened. And he's 1 in 20,000. And he will have seizures, all types of seizures, no definitive triggers. And this is something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Well, when it first started, he was 10 months old. And of course, like any brand new parents would do, we were really losing it. We didn't know how to deal with it. We didn't know what to do. And me, being a man in society, I have to be the rock. I have to be the provider. I have to be the strength. I have to be the support system. But who supports the man? So there were times where I would sit alone in my car and just cry. And then I would wipe them away, get out of the car, and I'd be that strong source of power for the family. And they never saw that side of me. And I had to do something to change that. I'm not going to tell you what it is, though.
Okay.
But
all ears.
if things didn't change, it would end up in mental health issues for me. Could be depression, could be suicide, could mean losing my family, could mean divorce. It could be a million different things. But you have to cope with it and learn how to adapt.
Okay.
Back to that.
Yeah.
And if you would like to know what it is, you'll have to read my chapter.
I will gladly do that. I'll look forward to it.
Absolutely.
Oh, that sounds like that's going to be a powerful chapter. And we'll tell every man that we meet about it, because I just recently read an article in another magazine that talked about the fact that men go through things differently than women. And often they hide what they're going through. So no one knows what's going on until it finally reaches volcanic state. And the lava's been flowing for a long time, but nobody knows this until the cap actually comes off. So yep. I can't wait to read your chapter and to be able to share it out. And Ida's going to talk to you about a way that you can do that in a marvelous way, because I'm so glad you came today. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
It's been so rich and so warm. And congratulations
and
family and everything.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I do appreciate you trying to push it out to those men, but you can push it out to those women too.
Oh, definitely.
Because they will be able to see the things that I did, and be able to help implement them to push their men.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty now.
Yeah.
I've been told that this chapter is going to make you laugh. It's going to make you cry. It's going to make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, and it's going to make you feel motivated.
All right.
I'm looking forward to it.
So.
All righty.
And what's the name of your chapter again?
You know what? You caught me off guard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. We're going to find out.
We're going to find out. Don't even worry about it. But we're going to make sure we share.
It is Life with a Special Needs Child, a Man's Perspective.
There we go.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes. And I think that's going to be a good, excellent read. Because I was watching another gentleman on the news. He had 2 autistic children, single. And I felt so oh God, I felt for him because I've worked with autistic children, people before, and I know how it can be. And
Absolutely.
it is very, very difficult. And being in a lockdown situation with an autistic child, it's like 25 kids and to raise at one time.
Yeah.
So,
And just think about this. The only thing that we know for certain is a trigger for my son to have seizures is body temperature. So imagine being in a lockdown and he can't go outside and play because he'll get too hot and have a seizure.
oh wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
You figure some stuff out real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to. I mean, the thing with that is that you love your son. And it's your love that has propelled you to do all the things that you've done. Even going and sitting out in the car and crying your heart out and then wiping them off and then going back in the house and, being the rock again. That's love. That's love. Love in action. So I just commend you for so many things. I've really enjoyed hearing about the work that you do, your mother who inspired you, and your children, your family who are an inspiration to you. And the fact that you are by your life showing what leadership is. So you're passing on a good thing to your children.
Yes,
a good thing to your children.
Yes, you are. So thank you. And again, how do people reach out to you?
Email is ewilloughby1@gmail.com. And Facebook is Eric D. Willoughby.
Okay. Well, we are definitely grateful and honored that you came today. And it's always nice to hear a man's perspective. So we are definitely grateful for that. And we definitely want to have you back, of course, especially once the book launches. I know Dawn is going to have a whole bunch of goodies going on with launching, and we definitely want to be a part of that.
I would be my pleasure.
Thank you so much for all that you do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Your business, through Just Minding My Business Media, has exposure on internet radio, major social media platforms, and now TV. Through Just Minding My Business, dynamic digital marketing platform. Don't listen to the word on the street. Hear it for yourself. Visit jmb.assistercircle.org to learn how you can take your business, your vision, to the next level. Voiceovers by RCH VoiceWorks, for when you want to be heard. Call 443-620-4115.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.